Today, there's no such thing as an accident. They're collisions, both predictable and preventable. But first, I was only 3 years old when we crashed. We'd hit a patch of ice, then the gravel shoulder, lost control, and slammed into an oncoming bus. Just before the crash, my father reached over and pushed me down onto the floor. Seat belts were not available in those days, and my father, a young surgeon, died instantly when he hit the pavement. My life was obviously affected. I was afraid of driving, afraid to learn. When I was 16, I practiced and practiced for over a year before attempting my test. I gained confidence, went on to enter rallies and racing cars. While I was racing cars on the track, 5 of my friends were killed in crashes on the road. None of these crashes needed to happen. 2 intersection crashes, 2 head-on collisions, and 1 gravel shoulder recovery. No one needed to die, and these types of collisions don't need to happen to you. On a daily basis, driving is the most dangerous activity you will be involved in. The collision-free approach will reduce your risk of crash.
All of us, both classroom and in-car instructors, are upgraded and tested on our abilities every year to ensure that our knowledge and teaching methods are the very best they can be. Young Drivers produces its own teaching videos and overheads to make learning more effective.
We use a uniform, systematic approach that makes learning to drive easier. By teaching with only 1 student with the instructor in the car at a time, the learning curve is accelerated.
When the front of the car reaches a point where the curb begins to turn, glance at the curb and turn hand, over hand, over hand.
Our videos explain how and why each of the YD techniques reduce the risk of collision. I'm proud to be a young driver's instructor because what I teach may very well save someone's life. If you are rear-ended, you are not considered at fault. But that doesn't prevent drivers from hitting you. Hundreds of deaths per year result from rear crashes, even though they are preventable. We teach our students to control traffic behind, maintain an escape route, and to use it.
I was driving in the winter one day and stopped behind a car in traffic. I checked the rearview mirror and saw a car sliding out of control towards me. I pulled off onto a shallow ditch and watched as the car slammed into the car that I had been following. The move saved myself and my dad's car.
W5 with Eric Mallon.
Higher standards demanded by some schools like Young Drivers of Canada. The more reputable schools teach students a lot more than how to scrape through the driving test. They're taught how to drive and stay alive.
You can't make something like driver education cheap. If you do, people will die.
About 3,500 every year, 800 in head-on collisions.
So over 20% of the drivers that die each year watch themselves die. You think about it. A car pulls out, they see it coming, they do nothing but brake and die. It doesn't make any sense.
Sue Lamb is a Young Driver's student. This is lesson 9, how to avoid a head-on collision.
So here's my hand, nice level speed, looking well up ahead, way up there, focusing in on that edge. Okay, here we go. We take it over.
It isn't hard. Don't take your foot off the gas or touch the brake. A firm grip on the wheel, and above all, don't panic.
And the danger passes. We look up, check, and bring it back on very gradually. Nothing to it, is there?
Back in July, when I was taking my YD training in car, my YD instructor told me about head-on collision avoidance. And back when he was telling me all this, I thought, no way am I ever going to use this in my whole entire life. But 2 weeks later, I was driving home with my parents from dinner, and we were on a 2-lane highway, and suddenly a transport truck came out in front. He wanted to pass a car, and he had nowhere to go. He kept on coming head-on, and right at that moment, I registered in my memory what my YD instructor said to me about head-on collision avoidance. And I basically just did what he said. I kept 2 wheels on the shoulder of the road. I kept 2 wheels on the road. I let the truck squeeze by me. I checked to see if it was safe, and then I went back on the road. Needless to say, my parents were extremely impressed that I was so calm and collected, and they were extremely relieved that nobody in our family got hurt. Thanks, YD, you saved our lives.
I recall driving with my son, going through an amber light, and I was all nervous and I was yelling, "Stop, stop, can't you see the light is amber?" And my son confidently and coolly turned to me and said, "Mother, I was past the point of no return." And from that point on, I had trust and faith in his driving.
My wife and I were very pleased at the training that our daughter received from young drivers, both in the classroom and on the road. It was quite amazing to watch the change in her driving from a very nervous, uncomfortable driver to today we are very comfortable driving with her. As an added benefit, the tips that she passed on to us have made both her mother and myself a better driver.
This is just one of the dangers your new driver must face. It's our job to minimize the risk. We're very proud of our program and our team. Please pass this on to other parents and friends. I promise you, a program you can trust.
Young Drivers now offers free co-driver courses to anyone practicing with a new driver. Here are some comments from graduates of the co-driver program. The course was well presented. I feel 100% more relaxed to drive with my two sons. I now know what to watch for with my boys, and I feel as though I've had a refresher course for myself. I did not expect this session to be as interesting and valuable as it was, so my expectations were exceeded. I thought 2.5 hours would be too long, but it just flew by. A vast amount of information was presented. Much of it was new to me, even though I'd been driving for 25 years. It has made me more aware of my son's limitations and what he thinks he can do as to what is realistic. It will also help me to verbalize his mistakes and to use key words to see if he sees the risk up ahead. I think this evening has certainly helped me to be a better co-driver. It has also taught me some better ways to handle situations when I'm driving. My first child went through your driving course, still remembers what was taught, and uses the knowledge. I hope my second child will have the same results. I would not choose any other driver training program. Excellent. I only wish I had this course 25 years ago. I came away learning some things, and that's a scary thought. Very compact, but extremely informative. Many new techniques were explained, which are sometimes contrary to what we older drivers learned, and were done very effectively. Great program. Our son takes the program very seriously, and I also see his learning curve and self-confidence increasing as he goes along. Every potential collision situation seems to be covered, and very well. Your program works. My daughter Brandy successfully avoided a collision in her first 6 months of driving. I particularly appreciated the safety elements of this program. Thank you for your concern for our young people. We as experienced drivers should be taking refresher courses on defensive driving techniques.